Hello, and welcome back to Virtually Crafted. If you've ever wanted to add dramatic effects to your 3D models, like shattering glass or crumbling buildings, then you're in the right place. I'm Kevin, and today, we're diving into one of Blender's most dynamic features, the Cell Fracture tool. This powerful tool allows you to break your model into pieces, creating stunning visual effects. Let's get started. First, let's understand what cell fracture is. Take a look at the official Blender documentation. In Blender, cell fracture is a feature designed to break or shatter objects into smaller fragments, mimicking real-world destruction. Whether for animation, game design, or visual effects, it adds a layer of realism to scenes involving impact or decay. Let's head back over to Blender. To begin, select the object you want to fracture. For this demonstration, we'll use a basic cube. Make sure your object is selected, then head over to the Object menu, navigate to Quick Effects, and choose Cell Fracture. We're greeted by this menu that has a lot of options, but don't worry. The top row is primarily where the cuts should start. You can set limits or add noise, which we'll do later. Next, you'll see Recursive and More Limits, which basically will allow your model to be cut again after the initial cuts. Here, you'll also be able to define Material Offset for cuts. Hit OK to fracture your cube. You'll see here that our cube fractured into parts called cells in the hierarchy. Each one is just another cube. Pretty neat, but not exactly what we were looking for. Let's delete the cells we made. Click your cube again, and let's give it some materials. We'll give it two materials, one for outer material, and one for inner. The inner material is the one we will tell Cell Fracture to use. Customize these to look however you like. I'm going to go for a sort of watermelon look with green on the outside and red on the inside. Repeat the process to fracture the cube, but this time, let's turn up our noise to 1. This will introduce randomness. Set the material index to 1. This means it will grab your second material for the cuts, since 0 would be the first material. Once your object is fractured again, you'll notice it looks a lot different. With materials on, you can see how the cuts made the inside use your defined internal material. The cuts are also a lot more random. Hide your original cube or delete it, and move your cells into a new collection called Cells. This is where we can have some fun with our new fractured objects. Add a plane to your scene and increase its scale. Select all your cell objects and then click Object, Rigid Body, and add Active. This will give each object a rigid body. The same can be done through the Physics menu for each object. Then give the plane a passive rigid body. This can be done both ways. Hit play. Now, our cube cells fall onto the plane and break apart. This is only the beginning of what's possible with cell fracture. Note that if we increase the height of our cells, they break apart with more force. This makes sense because they have more velocity. The opposite goes for if we bring the object to ground. We can mess with this a little bit by adding in a force field. Go ahead and add in an empty object. Be sure to place it outside of your cells collection. Go to the Empties Physics tab and add Force Field. Currently, it's too weak to push away our cells. Increase the power to see how it works out. You can also turn off gravity in the Scene menu for a more explosive effect. Neato! There are a lot of physics tools at our disposal, but we're going to switch gears here and explore the use of geometry nodes with cells. Delete the plane in your scene and add in another new plane to the main collection. Move it off to the side. Next, open a window or slide over a window for geometry nodes. With your plane selected, add a new geometry node. I'll cover geometry nodes in another video, but just follow along today to get a sample of how they can be mixed with cell fracture for seemingly complex effects. Add a collection info node and link it to the output. Select your cell collection in the info node. Set to relative and separate children. Now hide your cell collection. You'll notice you can still see the cells. This is because the plane is now using the cell collection information for its geometry. You can do some pretty interesting stuff with geometry nodes, but for now let's just throw in a scale instances node. Scale instances does exactly what it sounds like. It scales each instance, or in this case, each cell, by certain factors defined in the node. This can be done individually or together. You can also rotate them by adding in a rotate instances node, or move them with translate. We're going to try scaling them dynamically based on proximity to another object, so add in an empty object. Name it so you recognize it. Go back to your node plane and drag in your new empty so it populates with object information. Add in a position node as well to be able to input the position of the plane, set to relative and as instance. This will be used with a vector math distance node. Plug it into scale and see what happens. What a monstrosity! We'll need to map the range of this node to affect scale in a more desirable manner. For better results, use a map range node. For better results on this, we'll set it to step smooth and map it from 0 to 2. That's looking better already, but I want the effect to be stronger. I'll change it from 2 to 3 here. I think that's pretty good. Now when we move around our empty, we can affect the scale of the cells from our original fractured object. There's a lot you can do with cell fracture in combination with many of the tools Blender has to offer. I hope today you learned a bit about a few options available to you. If this video helped you or you enjoyed the video, please give me a like and a subscribe. If you would like to see more tutorials, let me know in the comments. This has been Virtually Crafted. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.